If you're all happy, I'm going to get started. Okay, perfect. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Hello, everyone. Very good to be here together with Vaishali. Today, we will be talking about how to make sure that all your touch points are spot on, from branding to customer service. It's going to be covering those two areas of expertise. And guess what? We have two experts on those two areas. Vaishali for the branding and marketing, and myself with customer service. So we're going to see all the similarities when it comes to mapping that customer journey successfully through all the different touch points. And I'm really excited to do that podcast together, Vaishali. It's been a while we have this scheduled. I mean, I know that it's going to be quite similar to how we normally talk and have those amazing conversations. So very much looking forward to it. Thank you for being here, Vaishali, first of all.
Thank you very much for asking me, Pierre. Very happy to be here.
Well, same way around, really happy to have you and do that podcast together. Maybe we're going to start by introducing ourselves so people know who we are and what you do. Would you like to start?
Yes, of course. Thank you. So I'm Vaishali. I'm founder and creative director of Creative ID. We create aspirational branding and marketing for inspirational brands. I'm all about getting my clients noticed for the right reasons by the right people. I join the dots between branding, marketing, and customers to create standout brands, brands that people believe in print, online, and in social.
It seems like a very busy duty to do, and I have no doubt you are doing it beautifully. Mostly because I know you well and I see a lot of your posts, and I definitely recommend people to follow you and your amazing expertise on LinkedIn or anywhere else. Well, thank you for introducing yourself. I'm going to introduce myself very briefly, and then we're going to get started. So I'm Pierre, I'm the founder of Beyond Satisfaction. I'm a customer experience consultant and trainer. What I do is I'm helping businesses to improve their processes, strategies, but also their team performance around their clients so they can bring their customer experience to the next level. The goal is not only to make the best impact on their customer satisfaction and loyalty, but also on their business performance and on the revenue, that they generate from customers, but also on elevating their brand and standing out from competitors through the heart of the business that we should value on a daily basis, which is the customers. So yeah, I think we're done with the introduction. So let's get started right away with that amazing discussion we're going to be having together. So when it comes to obviously touch points and customer journey in general, when it comes to branding, how would you define a touch point, and why would you say it's very important when it comes to marketing and branding?
Great question. So a touch point is where your brand and a customer or prospective customer come together. It's any interaction where they can experience or connect with your brand. I kind of say that it's like stops along the way of your customer journey from discovery to purchase and then beyond. They're really important because they have the power to sell your brand to customers, to prospectives, even if you're not in the room. They are there to make a memorable and lasting impact. They help you build trust. You know, we've all heard of know, like, and trust. So they help build that trust, that confidence in your client. They're important to help your customers feel involved, get that emotional connection to you and your business. We know that there's so much competition out there. There's so much noise out there. And by kind of creating a consistent and meaningful experience with your customer touch points, you can really kind of stand out and get noticed.
Yep. And I think, I mean, you're highlighting also a very good point, is I think that when it comes to branding and putting yourself, your brand, your message, your value out there through the different touch points when it comes to marketing, I think it's not only about attracting clients in terms of quantity, but definitely also in terms of quality, right? Because you want to attract the right clients with values that align with yours. Therefore, putting the correct message out there is key, correct?
Exactly. And it's exactly what you said. It's not a numbers game. It's not the quantity. It's getting the right client. You may just have a handful of clients, but they're long-term clients that are with you, that will refer you to other businesses. And that's what's really important. And kind of, as you said, having those clients that align with your brand values, your brand promise, that's what's really key.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think it's because sometimes, I mean, obviously I hear a lot about sending the correct message, about creating that need, creating that urgency. But I think it's sometimes it gets a little bit overlooked when it comes to your values, what you are about. why you're doing it, why you're passionate about it. I think those things matter a lot because it's also I mean, that's something I talk a lot when it comes to customer service, but obviously I don't talk about it when it comes to branding, which is your area of expertise. But I'm pretty sure that those values and everything you put out there is also to make that positive impact on the emotional perception of this audience you have in front of you, correct?
Exactly. And emotion is the key word. It is an emotional experience, and you want to develop that connection with them. And so, having your your core values at the heart of everything you do, you will be the right business for the right customer. I often have clients saying, "Oh, but we didn't win this work, we didn't win that." That's fine, in the sense of to the right person, your pricing is correct, your values are correct, and everything you put out is correct. So it's not a numbers game, it's the right person, the right clients.
Yeah, and like you said about pricing, I think also one of the reasons sometimes customers will not say yes to certain pricing or suddenly gone disappear and silent the minute you send your price list, or try to kind of negotiate with you a lot and being pushy to bring your price down. Probably it's because they don't get yet the value of what you're providing. So probably it's because they're not the right clients. So I think it's also about changing that perspective we have around whether or not they're the good or the wrong clients. Sorry, whether or not they're the good clients. Maybe they're not the good clients, especially because they don't have values aligned with your values. Probably you're actually doing a favor to yourself and your business when it comes to I mean, that's something that I always say when it comes to, obviously I'm covering more the stage after use, which is onboarding, and starting that second stage of the customer journey successfully. But I'm always saying that obviously the last thing you want is onboarding a client who's not going to get the full value out of what you're providing, who's not going to benefit of from what you're doing, because they may very likely be they're very likely to become challenging customers. Customer will not going to appreciate what you're doing. Customers who may never go the extra mile for you. Do you want that type of customers within your business? So I think that's where there's a nice alignment between what you do and what I do. Is I don't think you can provide that amazing experience if you're not starting by putting the right message out there that is matching with an audience that you want to get and that you know is going to provide, who's going to really benefit from what you're providing, if that makes sense.
Definitely, definitely. So, Pierre, how would why do you believe understanding and mapping your own customer journey is so important for a business? And what are the main stages? How would you?
Well, yeah, very good question. So obviously, I think that mapping your customer journey is all about being proactive versus reactive. I mean, there's a lot of reason why you need to map your customer journey, but I think one of the main one is to have that clarity around the different processes that you put around your clients, but also the way you want to build that journey for your customers. And I think that's again the best way to bring that proactiveness when it comes to making sure that your customers have the best experience with you. Again, if you're just waiting for issues to happen, complaints to come up, this is when unfortunately it's good to react to it and do something about it. But again, if you are taking that stage before, you are already starting from the stage before, which is even before those things occur, by telling yourself as a business owner, okay, I want to understand from beginning to end what journey my customers are having with my business through those different touch points. So you can identify opportunities of improvement before issues happen. And I think it's not only about the customer journey. I mean, it's not only about the customer experience itself, but it's also about your opportunities as a business in terms of upselling, in terms of retention, everything around strategies around the customer journey, the loyalty and the upselling opportunities, but the opportunities around referrals, testimonials that you get at the end of the journey. If you want to make the best impact around that, you need to have clarity around how is your journey, and understand both your side of that journey through the different touch points, but also the customer side and the customer's perspective. You had a second question. Was it how to plan it successfully, right?
Yes, yes. Are there stages?
Yeah, so there is three main stages, which is before, during, and after. So before will be a lot around what you're covering. Obviously, it's not only about the marketing, it's also about the selling stage. It's also about the decision process, the booking process. Probably, if they're not ready yet, the nurturing process. That's going to be also about what you're covering. Then you have the during. So obviously, everything related to the service delivery, but also the onboarding. Also about checking on your customers and their satisfaction, monitoring that journey while they're receiving your service, and then the after, which is most part of the time the loyalty and advocacy stage. So how you check on your customers to make sure you get those precious feedback to understand how things went, so you can improve the journey for other clients, but also how can you get more from them in terms of testimonials, referrals, recommendations, or them coming back in the future, or just doing amazing shout outs. So I think the best way to build that journey is, first of all, to build really kind of like build those different parts within each stage. So within before, during, and after, split it into different parts within those three main stages, and then put the different touch points within each part. So you really, I kind of build chronology. Sorry, I cannot say that word. It's, as a Frenchman, I don't know what I cannot say. So I'm going to try again. Build chronologically. Any podcast I do is always the same. Build chronologically that customer journey through those different parts and through those different touch points that you have within each sub parts, if that makes sense. Then once you've done that, obviously the key is to identify what I call pain points. So what are the touch points where you believe there's an issue? There's probably lack of information from any end of the customer journey. There's potentially a customer issue, etc., etc. So then you can be again proactive around the opportunities of improvement that you can bring. The last thing I'll say is, once you've built that customer journey, really be able to bring improvement, changes on any processes, methods that you have around your clients, to again make it more smooth and to make sure that that customer journey is as successful as it can be, if that makes sense. I'll stop there because I could continue for hours. It's a very long topic, but I'll stop here.
No, I can see you're passionate about it. But what I think is key, what you said, is that what I think sometimes people feel is that once the purchase is done, they think that's it. But as you said, it's the post-purchase, for that relationship to continue, and working on your touch points after that, as you said, to upsell, to get a referral or testimonials. But I think I do find that certain clients or certain businesses that I talk to think it just stops at the purchase and that's it. But there's still a long relationship ahead, which you talked about.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it comes back to the idea that I think that if we will have to describe what we both do in terms of business perspective, I think that you will be someone who helps businesses to get clients, and I will be someone who help businesses to get more from the clients they already have. Because sometimes that second stage tends to be a little bit overlooked. People will naturally take their customers for granted. And this is why sometimes people, the minute they win that sale, they will be like, job done. But actually, the job has not only started, but the job is definitely continuing. It doesn't finish there. You still have a lot to do, because there's a lot you can get from those customers. They can stay longer with you. They can pay more from what they're getting from you. They can be the best brand advocates you can ever have while and after you're providing the service. But also you want them to get the full benefits out of what they're providing. You don't want them to be challenging customers. You want them to be an opportunity for you. You don't want to spend time around customer issues, around complaints, around difficult and challenging customers. You want to spend your precious time or your team's time into delivering the best experience. So again, aligning what you do with what I do and be successful throughout all the touch points will reduce drastically that time you're spending on those issues, but get you more time to make the experience better will definitely get you more, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
Actually, talking about touch points, there's something that I hear quite often is when a touch point is on brand. What does it mean, if you'll have to explain it?
Yes. So so the aim is to have your touch points on brand, and that's essentially when your physical, your digital, your written touch points are all in harmony. And that's what's important when you're on brand, is when everything is kind of consistent and on harmony. And what you want to do is kind of create a seamless way of running your business through your touch point. So that can be using the logo the same way, using the same color palette, using the same tone of voice. You want people to know that this is your business, and it's consistent, not seeing something one day or on your advert, then looking at your website, it looks like it's a different company. You then look at something else and you think that that looks different. You want to be in harmony and consistent. And again, by being on brand, again, through your touch points, you are conveying your brand's vision, your mission, your promise in that kind of consistent, meaningful, authentic way. So on brand is key.
And I think it's such a great point, because I think sometimes we tend to think that, for example, when it comes to being on brand, the messaging is going to be the most important, which is very important. But I think the choice of colors, the font of your writing in, like on your website, etc., etc., all those things that are all around the visual are also key, because that's sometimes what unconsciously you remember first. I'm sure you have things to say about that.
Yes, definitely. And that's why, for example, whenever I work with a client, I always create their brand manual so that they have that kind of reference document to work with me, to work with a printer, work with a web developer. But that brand manual, that guideline, talks about how to use your fonts, what are your fonts, how to use them, how to use your logos, what is your signature colors, do you have a secondary color palette? It's all of that to help you be consistent, because you want to be, it helps build that loyalty, it helps build that recognition. You want to be on brand and consistent. If we think of all the big brands that we think of, they are consistent across their touch points. So yes, the visual side is very important, but equally all the written side, your tone of voice. If you're a professional services and your tone of voice is kind of formal, that's great, but keep to that formality. If your brand personality is kind of casual and lighthearted, then use that. So it's using what works for you and your business consistently across your touch points.
And I think the personality part I really like, because I think that sometimes I saw a post about that actually that I really liked. I don't remember from who it was, but the person was saying, don't force it. Be proud of the personality you have, and make sure that it's reflected on your brand as the person representing the brand. And I think that's so important. Sometimes we may want to portray ourselves differently because we think it's going to work better. If you are someone discreet, very formal, and not necessarily that outgoing, it's not a bad thing, because as long as it's matching with your brand, matching with who you are and who you represent, then again, you are on brand. So sometimes I think it's important, like you said, that's such a good point, to be aligned when it comes to your personality as well. So, I totally agree with that. And I don't think you should envy, being jealous of other people if they're more outgoing, more, forgot the term, extrovert, sorry.
Extrovert.
Yeah. I think it's, as long as your personality reflect who you are, reflect what you do, reflect your brand, and that you're going to have people who's going to identify to that. Not everybody like outgoing and extrovert person. Some people may like more discreet person, and that's entirely fine as long as it's representing you. And I think the you in the branding is very important, right?
Exactly. And that's where you can be authentic and true to yourself and genuine. Because if you're looking at the competition and you want to be like them, at some point you're going to slip up. Because if you're not living that and you're trying to just copy them, and that's not you, when somebody has a Zoom call with you, when somebody meets you, you're doing a presentation, they're going to see that mismatch. So I think it is really important to be proud of who you are, and kind of use that as your kind of superpower and your kind of branding.
You said it all. Yeah, it needs to be genuine. It needs to be yourself, because that's how you want to be identified. And actually, it's aligned as well with a thing that I always say when I train people when it comes to customer service is, I always tell them, you represent the brand in the eyes of customers. So it's not only related to the business owner, who is kind of like the main picture of the business, if I can call it this way, but also to team members. Because at the end of the day, like I always say, you go tomorrow to a coffee shop, to a store, to a bank, you give a phone call to a brand of solicitors. What you're going to remember the most, also based on top of so many other things, is also and definitely that person you're talking to, that interaction you're having, because that person at that moment represents the business. So it doesn't matter what position you're having within the company, you represent the brand. And actually, the smaller the introduction is, the better you should stand out. Because again, it takes months to gain customers, which is your work. But it can take seconds to lose them, which is more my work.
Exactly.
So you
Yes,
better
exactly.
understand again the power of people, not only the business owners, but also the people who are delivering the customer service. In the eyes of the customer, they represent the business. Therefore, their attitude, the way they treat customers, needs to be spot on. Because you can provide the best offer, you can have the best messaging out there. If it's not aligned when it comes to your people delivering your customer service, people will run away and go somewhere else. This is where people attitude and mindset is key, if that makes sense.
Exactly. And that's why choosing your team is really key, because they are representing you. You cannot, if you have a team, you can't be everywhere, but your team, they are advocating you and representing you. So very important.
Definitely.
Yes,
I
yes.
have another question for you. Do you have one for me?
Yes,
Yeah. All right.
yes. I was going to ask about, because we've been talking so much about touch points, how do you ensure that each touch point is successful when you're working with your clients and creating, that best journey for your clients? How do you ensure that it's successful from both ends?
So I think it's first of all, it's important to understand that if customer journey will be aligned, there's two sides on that customer journey. There is the business side and the client side. So if you only make it successful for the business side, you're not going to see the customer's perspective. You're going to make your life easier. You're going to be most probably looking to be more productive, making more money, more effective with your team, the way you organize yourself, which is very important. But if you don't include the customers in those decisions, unfortunately, that's going to have an impact on their journey and on their satisfaction. So it's really important to understand both sides, but also understand the other way as well. If you're only making the journey successful for clients, but you're not making life easier for your team, that's going to have an impact ultimately, not only on your team's performance, but also on the customer's experience. And I've seen that a lot. My background, I've seen that a lot in my previous experience in hospitality. My background is luxury hotels. And sometimes we're so focused on customers that everything we'll be doing will be around making that experience successful. We'll be very strict to our team sometimes, but we don't understand that, sometimes we in that industry, we tend to forget that still say we, as you can see, we tend to forget that if you don't provide the correct environment, support, tools for the people to do their job well, the issues they're going to be facing, the pressure they're going to be under, of course, it's going to impact them, but ultimately, it's going to impact the customers at some point. They're not going to be proactive enough to do certain things. They're going to be under pressure, not as effective as they should be. Their attitude will change with customers, etc., etc. So I think I'll say that when it comes to a touch point, understand that there is two sides of the customer journey. So you can just make the best impact on how happy your customers are with your brand. That makes sense.
Right, thank you.
Actually, I wanted to ask you again around touch points. Now we're covering that topic. Key touch points when it comes to marketing and branding. Do you have any ones that you think really make a difference?
So there's some that we're going to think of off the top of our head: our website, our logo, the visuals that you use for your adverts, the captions you write, the visuals for your social media posts, the captions that you write, your packaging, your branded merchandise, your uniforms. Those are all kind of key touch points. But there's many touch points. Those I'd say are key. But what I like looking at is what I call the invisible touch points. They're the kind of the smaller interactions, but still very important. So they're less known, but important. So for example, your Zoom background, the way you are when you do your discovery calls, your client calls, your Zoom background, whether it's a virtual background, whether it's a physical background and you're showing your products and services, that background is really important and overlooked. Another one is your email signatures. We send emails daily, how many emails we send back and forth, but it's a really important real estate. You can include, a link to your latest blog, a link to your lead magnet, a customer testimonial. It's really useful space to use. So I'm a big fan of kind of branding up your email signatures. Also, think about the documents that you send to clients, your onboarding document, your own kind of pitch document, all your collateral. Again, keep those kind of branded. Your out of office message. Again, it's a perfect opportunity to include a link to, let's say, your frequently asked questions, or direct them to a blog that you want them to read. You may be out of the office, but let your messaging still work for your customers. So there's lots of ways that you can kind of bring your personality and kind of help that kind of client relationship, and kind of keep the dialogue, keep the conversation going. Even your error message on your website, or the contact form. Somebody's interested, they make an inquiry with you. How does your contact form look? Is it really kind of boring, difficult to fill in? Or is it reflecting your personality, giving a bit of oomph, and somebody's feeling excited to work with you? So those kind of invisible touch points, I find, particularly intrigue me, because they're often overlooked.
Yeah, very true. And I think it's there's something that I say when the trainers say. You ask any trainers, they'll say something about training. And I love having this discussion with other trainers. They'll say, training is not about one big thing, is about the accumulation of so many little things that makes the training successful. And that reminds me of that when you explain about those invisible touch points. At the end of the day, how do you create that ecosystem around your brand where any small detail is spot on, and things that sometimes we may overlook, like email signature or things. At the end of the day, not only email signature, but also, like you said, even the out of office email. At the end of the day, it may be seen and sent to many people. So at the end of the day, yes, it's such a great tool to build that credibility again, because I think branding is also about credibility. I remember I had a discussion with a very good connection of mine, and he said to me, when I got started, he explained to me a situation when he got started within his business over probably the first year. He had a very good connection of his who asked him to send him a proposal, because he was a friend of him. He was working in a big company. He was like, send me your proposal about what you're doing, and I'll try to see if you can help us. And he sent a proposal, but he sent it from an email address which was at gmail.com rather than at hisbusiness.com. And obviously, the things that his connection said to him is that, and friend, he said, well, because it's you, of course I'm going to help you out, but just wanted to let you know, because also you're my friend. It would have been someone else that would have been a killer. And when you think about it, email address is just a small detail, but again, it's part of that credibility you build around your brand, around making sure that every detail is on brand. Either they are visible, less visible, or invisible, correct?
Exactly. And Pierre, what's great is that it's not just for big businesses. The out of office message, very easy, no cost to do it. Your email signature, this is something that all businesses, whatever size, can implement. And that's what I like.
That's very true. Again, it's about all those small little things that make you stand out, that are definitely not to overlook. So yeah, I agree with you.
Exactly. Thank you. And Pierre, what's the key to keeping clients happy? We want to keep clients happy. What's the key to that?
Well, that's one of my favorite questions. I could literally annoy you for the next 4 hours with that answer, but I'll try to make it succinct. I think, first of all, when it comes to a little bit what we covered at the beginning, when we said that branding is about also that emotional perception, customer service is a lot about that emotional perception. So when I train, 80% of the expertise I cover is about attitude. When I help businesses with customer experience consulting, next to the strategies, a lot of the methods I'll help them implement is about how to make the best impact on the customer's emotional perception, how to make them more loyal to the brand by impacting that emotion part of them, which is going to make them being remembered. I think the key to customer satisfaction is, first of all, to spread that mindset and attitude throughout within your team, that again, based on what we've just discussed, the smaller the thing is, the bigger it can have an impact. And sometimes the more that's what they will remember. At the end of the day, providing a service of quality is what all businesses expect to receive and paid for. It doesn't suffice for your customers to be happy and loyal with your brand. What will make them happy and loyal with your brand is that extra mile. How is your team showing that they care for your people? How they are generating that trust, but also how they are turning those threats around the customer journey into opportunities with effective complaint handling, with dealing successfully with the difficult and challenging customers, to turn it into an opportunity to generate even more trust from them by understanding the why behind the what. Why are they like this? Rather than just, oh, they're difficult and complaining, I don't want to deal with those customers. No, there's a why behind. What did we not do well, probably beforehand, to make their experience more successful? So I'll say that, yes, definitely understanding that attitude, mindset is key when it comes to your team, that the smallest thing that you do can have the biggest impact, but also by understanding that any threats that you have around your customer journey, in terms of complaining clients, in terms of difficult and challenging customers, in terms of unrealistic requests, can actually be a huge opportunity to make the experience even better, not only for them, but also for you, and protect your business. So yeah, I think it's all about, at the end of the day, the mindset that you have around your clients. But definitely one thing I will say on top of all this, the starting point is to understand that taking your customers for granted is the number one threat to that. So do never take your customers for granted. Do never underestimate the power that customer service has on your business. It's not only a tool of making customers happy, but also a tool to, again, probably that brand reputation that you build throughout branding is also a way to continue that reputation through those customers that you've won with branding. And that is not something to underestimate. So I'll say that, like I always say, I will never help help clients, so help businesses who think that customer service is just about dealing with complaint or a tick box exercise. If they don't understand the value of customer service, I don't want to help them out. I want, again, have my values aligned with them, if that makes sense.
Yes, definitely. And I like the fact that you said about going the extra mile, because I hear that sentence so many times, but people say, you look at the website or something, or we go the extra mile for our clients, but are they? That's the question. And if you actually do an investigation, you see that actually they're not always going the extra mile. And through these touch points, that is how you can go the extra mile. So it's not just saying it on your website, we go the extra mile, or in your presentation, we go the extra mile. You've got to demonstrate that. And through your branding, marketing touch points. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot about proactiveness as well. Not only being reactive. For instance, one example I always use, you take complaining clients. Most of the time when you take complaining clients, you're going to look at what happened there and try to resolve it. So that's being reactive. It's very good. But you also need to look at what happened beforehand. Probably expectations haven't been managed well. They've been over-promising things. Again, if you only look to sell, if you're only in a race for sales and you only look to sales in terms of quantity rather than quality, as we talked about, you will do everything to close that sale, and everything can include over-promising. So you want that journey to be aligned. You don't want to set expectations there, and then actually what you're providing is there, because then that's how you get those complaints. So it's also about being proactive around understanding that the more you are checking on your touch points to see what is going wrong, the more you are being proactive in solving problems before it ends up being a complaint, the more you are checking those complaining customers, those complaints you receive, to try to understand what happened beforehand, what I could have done better in terms of communication, information shared, and managing expectations for this to not happen. That's how you're being proactive. And actually, it's changing the perspective you have around whether the client is right or wrong. Sometimes that's what I hear. Oh, the client's complaining here, but the client is wrong. Well, it doesn't matter, because the question you should ask yourself is, what is your part of responsibility in the client being wrong? Probably you haven't managed expectations successfully. You haven't given the correct information, or you haven't had that courageous conversation you should you should have had. But I'll stop there.
But certainly managing expectations is key.
Oh yeah.
I hear that time and time that expectations are not aligned, and that's where these issues can arise.
No, definitely. And I think you start managing expectations right from branding as well.
Exactly, exactly.
So I think you've already, I had a question for you around invisible touch points, but I think you've already covered that, and I think that's such a key topic. And thank you for sharing your expertise on that. Last question I have for you is, when it comes to auditing your branding touch points, is there anything specific that you believe you should keep in mind and do in order to do it successfully?
Okay, great question. So I'd say firstly, self-awareness. You need to know and understand your USP, your unique selling proposition, your superpower, whatever you want to call it. But you need to know that inside and out, because by knowing that, that's how you can be authentic and create that meaningful and consistent customer journey experience. You become more relatable, you become more targeted. So you really need to know that. And you also need to know who is your ideal client, who is your target market. And that may have changed. When you started your business, you may have been appealing to, let's say, mass market, but now you've decided you want to go into the luxury industry. So your touch points may change. You may decide now that you want to look internationally. So again, you need to kind of review and monitor where you started your business and where you are now. Your touch points may have been different. So it's really key to understand your ideal audience. And in an ideal world, you want every touch point to be kind of perfect and seamless. But I would say kind of really put that focus on your ideal client, your target audience, what works for them, so that you can create that journey of meaningful touch points.
Yeah, I mean, that is such a great point, what you said about the fact that your business 3 years ago is not, in terms of the service you're providing, your own goals, how it evolved. Your business 3 years ago is not the same than your business right now. Sorry, your business right now, I should say the other way around. Your business right now is not the same than your business 3 years ago. So obviously the branding touch points needs to be aligned with that, and kind of like they need to evolve together with the business, because like you said, otherwise you're sending a messaging, you're putting a message out there that is not anymore reflecting what you're providing. And again, that's where you may have that imbalance between branding and what you're providing, correct?
Exactly. So by joining those dots up and having that ideal client in mind, you can really kind of create something that works for you, and then review it. Review, monitor. You want to optimize your touch points, see what's working best, what needs to tweak, and just like you do with your customer service journey, review your process, review your journey.
Is there any, sorry, that's a question I didn't plan. I hope that's okay. Is there any specific challenges that you see around that topic, around the branding touch points? Because I know you're helping a lot of different clients with that. Is there any specific challenge you see your clients facing regularly?
The challenge I find is that there's a mismatch. So, for example, I have a lot of clients that say we want to target the luxury market. Great, but when you look at the touch points, what they're sending out doesn't look luxury. So it could be their documents don't look luxury. The way they kind of dress and present themselves for that discovery call doesn't look luxury. The tone of voice doesn't look that formal, sophisticated elegance that they want to talk about. So I think, if you want to do luxury, fantastic, but all these touch points have to then reflect luxury. And that's often what happens, is that mismatch. Or people think, well, I've done my logo looks luxurious. I hired a brand designer, it looks lovely. But as I always say, your branding is not just your logo, your touch points is not just your logo. So great, you've got a fantastic logo, but it's all these touch points that need to be consistent, cohesive. And that's what I find the challenge is, that and why I find that clients come to me, is to actually let's work on that together. So with everything you put out is talking to your ideal audience.
I mean, one of the things that I've learned throughout my career in luxury, actually, is the importance of attention to detail. And that's so funny because that's again a topic that I will mostly again when I train luxury brand that I will cover a lot because they love that topic. For them is really important. And now I love that when you mentioned that target audience for some customers, you've been very good in mentioning so many little details that makes a difference. So again, is that attention to details that you need to have with your customers, because that's what your clients may like the most, may remember the most. It's not only about customer service. Attention to detail can make you stand out with your clients when you provide that service to them, but it's definitely making you stand out when it comes to branding, because those small details will probably be the main thing that will get you to reach that target audience you want to reach. Sorry, I said 2 times reach, but if you know what I mean.
Exactly. And sometimes it's small things, Pierre, like, sending a handwritten note, sending a handwritten card, sending something, at Christmas or a festival time. It's just being front of mind, but doing it in a meaningful way. And certainly for luxury, it is definitely attention to detail. If you think of all our favorite luxury brands, if you want to be like that, you aspire to be like that, you need to kind of make sure that things are consistent and you are speaking to that audience.
Very, very true. Yeah. And I mean, I think that again, sometimes if you only see the main touch points, like you said, when it comes to reaching your target audience, that may not suffice. Everything from, like you said, the design of your virtual brochure to those small extra mile you're going to take with sending some little cards or something when you're on the nurturing stage, for instance. That's going to be those things that's going to make them identify you as a brand servicing luxury, if we stay on that topic. So yeah, no, spot on. Really like that point. And again, it's always a pleasure to see that even though we cover 2 different topic areas of expertise, there's still similarities, and it's good to see that continuity between what you do and what I do. I'm done with my questions for you, but I don't know if you have any other ones for me before we wrap up.
Yes. I was going to ask you, do you have any tips for anyone listening here on what they can do to kind of improve that customer service journey?
Yes, be proactive. Let me try to cover something that I didn't cover yet. What I will say is to understand that when you check a touch point between you and your clients, for instance, one of your touch point will be checking on your customers to see if everything, let's say 1 month after they're onboarded, you have a specific phone call or email that you send them to check how they are doing. A lot of things that they're going to be telling you may be related to other touch points before that one. So again, it's about joining the dots between the information they give you. I would say it's really key to be proactive. Again, taking that example, being proactive on checking your customers' perspective, feelings, satisfaction, issues before they let you know about it. If you take complaining clients, for instance, complaining clients represent only 20% of your clients who are facing issues or unhappy with something. So it means that 80% of those clients are not telling you about it. But when they are telling you about it, is through a complaint, because they're just unhappy enough about it to start saying something about it. You want to be proactive around that, to know from those 80% of clients who are dissatisfied with something, missing information, frustrated with something specific, before they're turned into complaining clients. So it's all about being proactive in how you check on your customers by having processes, again, where you ask for their feedback, when you spend time with them to understand how they are feeling with your brand, how they are feeling with your services, to take any opportunity of having an interaction with them, to ask those questions, to get those insights from them. It's what I like to call lock-on questions. It's questions you ask to get insights on how they are doing. Most of the time, it's a yes or no question, but depending on what they answer, you're going to get those insights. The most classic lock-on question is, how is everything going? Is there anything specific you are unhappy with with the service I'm providing you. If they say no, they have nothing to see. But if they say yes, there's something I'm unhappy with, they will have to develop. So again, it's giving yourselves those opportunities, to get insights from customers before they give it to you by themselves. Because when they give it to you by themselves, it may be too late. So again, feedback strategy, giving yourself every time you're talking to customers to check on their satisfaction, having specific processes to get them to talk, but give yourself some time to get those feedback from them. Being proactive around those touch points by understanding what may be going wrong before they say anything. So again, the more you're proactive around your customer journey, the more you'll get those insights before it turns into a complaint or an issue. This is key. And when I train people, that's something I cover a lot. How they can give themselves those opportunities to get those insights from clients before they get it when it's too late. That makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. Anything else you wanted to cover, ask me, mention? Of course, I will give you the opportunity to share anything about how to reach out to you or if there's anything specific you do. But is there anything else you wanted to share before that?
No, that's it. I think it's just lovely. This conversation has shown the what we have in common. We look at things, the same way, but we approach it. We can we can support our clients using, touch points and customer service. So
no, definitely. And
good.
yeah, I mean, that was good to have that initial conversation with you to realize that something that I wouldn't have thought about when we had that conversation. I was like, well, actually, yes, there is, because those touch points you have around branding definitely needs to be aligned with those touch points you have when it comes to delivering that experience. Would you like to share anything with the audience on how to reach out to you, or if there's anything specific, any specific lead magnet you would like to share?
Sure, thank you. Yeah. So yes, I'm on LinkedIn. So if you just look up my name, Vaishali Shah, and then it's got my initials FCIM, Fellow of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. So if you look up Vaishali Shah, LinkedIn is a key platform for me. And also you can see that you can sign up to Cropmark, which is my monthly free bulletin on innovation, creativity, and hopefully there'll be some things in there that will inspire you and that you can take into your business. And I talk a lot about touch points in there as well. That's it.
That's perfect. Well, thank you for sharing this. And by the way, being being a subscriber of your monthly newsletter, I can definitely recommend it. Full of great tips and insights. So highly recommended. Thank you, Vaishali. For my end, the same. You can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, Pierre Bauzée. Wherever this podcast will be shared, some details on how to reach out to myself and Vaishali will be shared. I also do a free discovery call if you want to know more about what I do, or if you want me to give you any specific expertise on how, again, you can run successfully your business around customers. The last thing I have available, which is free, is a free online assessment, which is giving personalized, it's taking no more than 5 minutes. It's free. Is giving personalized insights on how well your customer experience, strategies, and loyalty are working for your business and what impact it makes on its performance. So the link for that will be put in the under this podcast, wherever it's going to be shared. Vaishali, thank you again very much for today. Really enjoyed our conversation. And yeah, looking forward to do another one very soon.
Likewise. Thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to talk to you today.
Same way around. See you all very soon and take care in the meantime.
Thank you.